Angel Reese called herself the Michael Jordan of the WNBA. That actually happened. She said that out loud. And then Lisa Leslie, three-time All-Star, two-time champion, the actual blueprint for dominant big women in this league, sat down on Reese's own podcast and destroyed her on live TV, straight to her face. Period. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark was being named one of the most powerful women in sports by Forbes and dragging the entire league into a billion-dollar media deal. So let's talk about the gap between moving the needle and just making noise. Who do you think is moving the needle? Clark or Reese? Let me know down in the comments below.
I don't know what the big deal is about the fact that Caitlin is getting a lot of love. She deserves that, and she's helped change this game just as a lot of other players have. But it is what it is. And I think that we are all benefiting from the effects that she's had on the game. And I just appreciate the way she shows up.
Picture this. You're Angel Reese, 2 seasons in, and you decide the right move is to compare yourself to Michael Jordan. Not LeBron, not Shaq, not even someone still playing. Michael Jordan, 6 rings, 51% from the field for his entire career. That Michael Jordan. So here's the thing about Reese. She's been building something off the court. The Reebok deal, the podcast, the social presence, the live shows. She's clearly trying to be bigger than basketball, and honestly, there's nothing wrong with that as a goal. Plenty of athletes build brands. The problem is when the brand says one thing and the shot chart says something completely different.
But she literally got called out for missing layups. I mean, on her own damn show.
Because while she's out here invoking the GOAT, her Chicago Sky fell from top-tier attendance all the way down to bottom 5 in the league. Not middle of the pack. Bottom 5. And they've missed the playoffs every single season since she joined the team. And then there's the layup thing. Her field goal percentage near the rim sitting somewhere between 39 and 44% depending on the game. Her rookie season overall field goal percentage was 39.1%.
It's just a fact. She is, it's more than a fact. She is not good at layups. But I was looking at her stats. I jotted some down right here, and she shoots an abysmal 39% from the field. She shot below 50% on shots less than 5 feet away, which is bad. And even worse than that is that shots from 5 to 9 feet, 13%.
Let's be real clear about what 39% at the rim actually means. That's not a slump. A slump is temporary. That's a structural problem. That means more than half the time she gets to the spot on the floor where finishing is supposed to be automatic, she's coming up empty. Announcers literally laughed on live broadcasts. Not exaggerating, there's footage of a commentator audibly chuckling after one of her misses. The clips went viral. The memes came fast. And then she went on TV talking about her salary, saying she doesn't get paid what she deserves. And look, WNBA salaries are genuinely low across the board, and that conversation is real and worth having. But you can't make the Jordan comparison and then point to your paycheck as proof the league undervalues you. Not when anyone can pull up the shot chart and see exactly what the market is responding to.
This is like WNBA leveling up and all eyes on her now. I think that she knows that she has to completely restructure her form because that is not the way to be efficient in the post position that she is in. At the post position that she's in, a layup is supposed to be a given. She needs to improve her touch around the rim, like all over the place, but she seems to take these desperation shots.
Here's where it gets interesting with the brand stuff too. Reebok signed her on potential and charisma. That's the whole foundation. Meanwhile, Nike built Caitlin Clark's deal around ratings, ticket sales, and revenue you can actually measure. One of those deals has numbers behind it. The other one is basically a bet that the vibe holds long enough to matter. And Reese herself said it. She went on her own podcast and said, "I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we're watching women's basketball is not just because of one person, it's because of me too." Jordan shot 51% from the field. Reese is at 39% on layups. Those two things don't belong in the same conversation. And a 66-year-old legend decided to say exactly that, right to her face.
Hoops game where she literally needs to put up like 300 shots a day. And I'm not kidding. Like 200 or 300 shots a day, and that's missed layups. She's 6'3" or 6'4", can't hit a layup to save her life. And literal videos have went mega viral of just her missing layups in game.
Here's where it gets interesting. Lisa Leslie didn't go on ESPN to talk about Angel Reese. She didn't do a separate interview. She went on Reese's own podcast, Unapologetically Angel, Reese's house, Reese's microphone, and still said it. So let's talk about who Lisa Leslie actually is, because this matters. 2 WNBA championships, 3 MVP awards, 4 Olympic gold medals. She's not some commentator guessing about post-play and rim finishing. She lived it for over a decade at the highest level. When she talks about how a big woman should move around the basket, she's not theorizing. She's describing things she did herself, repeatedly, against the best players in the world.
I can't wait to work with you some more. The biggest advice I have for you is going to be how you shoot your layups, period.
So Reese invites her on, right? Probably expecting some good stories, some veteran encouragement, maybe a little hype. And instead, Leslie looked at her and basically said, "Your layups are broken and we need to fix them." On air, in front of everyone listening.
Like, we're going to fix that.
Yeah.
That's fixable for you. And I think that's probably the biggest. I think your shot from the outside is improving. I love that your ball handling is good. Your defense is improved.
That word fixable is doing a lot of work there. Because on one hand, it's actually the kindest thing she could say. She's not writing Reese off. She's saying, this can get better. But on the other hand, it's confirmation from a Hall of Famer on the record, sitting right across from Reese, that the problem is real and serious enough to be the single biggest piece of advice she has. Said, the fact that you be snatching that ball from girls, I'll be cracking up. Like she got another one. I love the fact that you are like putting so much pressure on them defensively. So this wasn't a takedown. It was a full coaching session that just happened to be recorded and published for thousands of people to hear.
And Lisa Leslie is completely on the money here. And that's just a problem when it comes to a lot of the old WNBA, is that they just can't. They just can't not even wrap their head around. They can't just accept.
But let's be honest about why the layup part hit the way it did. The clips were already viral before Leslie said a word. The memes were already running. Announcers were already laughing on live broadcasts. Leslie didn't create the story. She just walked in and gave it an official cosign from someone whose opinion nobody in basketball can dismiss. That's what real mentorship actually looks like. Not the version where someone pats you on the head and tells you you're doing great. The version where someone who genuinely knows what they're talking about sits down and tells you exactly what needs to change, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's your own show.
We have to understand that when one player eats, we all eat. And as we all get more opportunities, it just opens it up for everyone else. And I think Caitlin has said that even herself in certain interviews. And I love that. I love that she's not the player who's like, it's all about her. It's not. She's giving love and homage to those of us that have come before her. She shares the wealth with her teammates, and she doesn't have to do that. So I just don't, again, I don't know what the big deal is about the fact that Caitlin is getting a lot of love. She deserves that, and she's helped change this game.
The WNBA just locked in an 11-year media deal worth $2.2 billion. Not $1 billion, $2.2 billion. And the timing is not a coincidence. Before Clark showed up, the league was fighting to stay relevant. Teams were scrapping for decent TV slots. Attendance was soft in a lot of markets. And the business conversation was mostly about keeping the lights on. The league was literally selling equity in 2022 just to maintain operations. That's where things stood. Then Clark's rookie season happened. Indiana Fever games stopped being something you'd maybe catch if you had time. They became must-see, clear your schedule, tell your group chat television. The Fever went from third to last in league attendance to number 1 in the entire league, and then stayed there for a second straight season. So when people say the league was already trending up before Clark, sure, fine. But the Fever didn't trend upward. They jumped from the basement to the penthouse in one season. That's not a trend. That's an earthquake.
Angel Reese says WNBA players could go on strike over salary and benefits.
Career you choose, you should probably look at what the career earnings are of going into that field. What I'll also say is this: every single one of you WNBA players, you better pray that Caitlin Clark doesn't get injured, because she's keeping your league afloat.
Here's where it gets interesting with the actual numbers. 22 of Clark's games cleared 1 million viewers across ABC, ESPN, CBS, and NBA TV. Her games alone accounted for 26.5% of the league's total economic activity during her rookie year. The league averaged 657,000 viewers per game in 2024, and a massive chunk of that number has Clark's fingerprints all over it. TV executives saw all of this happening in real time, and they started bidding. Disney, Amazon, NBC Universal, all of them. Because when one player can change what a broadcast slot is worth, networks pay for it. And it's not just the TV deal. Forbes put Clark at number 4 on their 2025 list of the most powerful women in sports. She's 23. She's got an 8-year, $28 million deal with Nike, a signature shoe coming, deals with Gatorade and Wilson, and she's showing up at LPGA events, pulling in fans who have never watched a WNBA game in their lives. Jersey sales, social following, stadium energy, every single metric pointed the same direction, and sponsors noticed fast.
Listen, she's a competitor. She's a trash talker. She makes players around her better. She's exciting to watch. And quite frankly, I've missed seeing her. Being at Unrivaled, I wish that she was there. Like, I've missed seeing her play. So I really look forward to seeing her back out there. But as I do all of the WNBA players, like, we are really watching a very exciting level of basketball.
So the $2.2 billion media deal isn't some gift the league stumbled into. It's the market putting a hard number on what Clark actually built. Networks don't hand out deals like that on vibes. They do it because the ratings are real, the ticket sales are real, and the revenue is real. And Lisa Leslie said it plainly: when one player eats, we all eat. She wasn't being poetic about it. She was describing a straight economic chain reaction. Clark's visibility pulls in money. That money flows into better contracts and bigger deals for every player in the league. The whole WNBA is eating better right now because of one player. Meanwhile, someone else was busy calling herself Michael Jordan. So Leslie didn't just leave it at the layup thing, because right after she told Reese her finishing needs work, she turned around and talked about Caitlin Clark, and she didn't soften a single word of it.
I think it's all about money, marketing, and we cannot deny what Caitlin Clark has done for the women's game. I'm not going to act like it's something that we don't see. She's had a huge effect, called the Caitlin Clark effect. Yes, have we ever had teams have to get into larger arenas to play against a team? No, we have not. So if we have more eyeballs on the game and Caitlin Clark brings that, why would we feel some kind of way because she has more television games?
Here's where it gets interesting. Leslie said Clark deserves this, all of it. The attention, the endorsements, the hype, because she's changing the game. That's a direct quote on Reese's own podcast. Leslie didn't pull that out on ESPN or some separate interview where it'd be easy to dismiss. She said it in Reese's house, into Reese's microphone, with Reese sitting right there. And that matters because there's been a whole conversation running through this league about whether Clark gets too much attention, whether the coverage is fair, whether veterans and other stars are getting pushed aside. Some of that frustration is understandable. Players who've been grinding in this league for years watching a rookie get $1 billion wave behind her. That's a real feeling. But Leslie just walked straight through all of it and said, no, this is right. She deserves it.
Hey, listen, Caitlin, I am so thankful for her. I'm thankful for all of these women and where this game is. And we have to step back and see the big picture and how it's impacting all of us.
Leslie also made a point of saying Clark respects the league's history, that she doesn't walk around acting like she invented women's basketball. And Leslie contrasted that directly with players who do act that way. She didn't name names in that moment. She didn't have to. So you've got Leslie on one side praising Clark for humility, production, and actually moving the league forward. And on the other side, in the same conversation, telling Reese her layups are broken. Leslie didn't separate those two things into different episodes or different interviews. They're sitting right next to each other. And that's not an accident.
Stephen A. Smith had a very interesting discourse with Fee recently over the number of games the Fever broadcasted this season compared to other teams who have also got stars on them. So curious what you make of W's decision to lean into highlighting its stars.
Because what Leslie is really saying is here's what it looks like when it works. And here's the gap you still need to close. Clark's Nike deal is 8 years, $28 million, with a signature shoe coming. That deal exists because the numbers are real. The ratings, the ticket sales, the merchandise. Reese's Reebok deal is built on a different kind of bet. And her signature shoe launch didn't exactly set the market on fire. The market responds to production. It always does. And the "when one player eats, we all eat" thing, Leslie kept coming back to. That's not a feel-good line. That's a business argument. Leslie is saying Clark's commercial success sends money downstream to every player in the league. Better contracts, better visibility, better deals across the board. So fighting Clark's rise isn't some principled stand. It's literally fighting your own paycheck. Leslie looked at both situations and drew a clear line between them. Here's the model that works. Here's the gap that still exists. And she did it all on one podcast episode.
You got to go out there and prove yourselves. And listen, are we going to get upset about 5, 6, 10 games less on television or not? I don't think we should. We have access to find these games now in a way that we never had before. And we have to appreciate that, and all these platforms that support the W.
Let's talk about what's actually being built in Indiana right now, because this part doesn't get nearly enough attention. Clark is the engine. Everyone knows that. But the Fever aren't a one-player team anymore and haven't been for a while. Lexi Hull is developing into a real two-way piece. Tough, smart, the kind of player who makes the team harder to guard because she does the dirty work without needing the spotlight. Clark herself talks about making sure Hull gets good looks, celebrating her shots, pulling for her teammates. And that's not just nice locker room talk. Clark said the team chemistry alone is worth 10 to 12 points a game. That's not nothing. That's a real number with real consequences on the scoreboard.
The growth of the league has been so much. I mean, can you just help us to understand the transition this league is going on right now?
I mean, it's incredible. And I remember my first WNBA game when I was a young girl. I went to the Minnesota Lynx when they had their dynasty with Maya Moore, and they were playing the Seattle Storm. And now basically any arena you go to, it's sold out. We're adding 2 teams. We're up to 14 now, and then hopefully getting to 18 in the next couple years. So, business is booming, and that's a really good thing. And we kind of just got to keep meeting the moment. The talent's getting better and better. You see it at the college level coming into the professional game too. So I feel very fortunate, and hopefully I have a long career ahead of me as well.
Well, just know.
And then there's Aaliyah Boston, who is a legitimate post presence that can actually finish around the rim. Which, after everything we just talked about, feels worth saying slowly. She finishes at the rim, consistently. It's not complicated, but apparently it's rarer than it should be. Kelsey Mitchell can get her own shot at any time. She doesn't need Clark to create everything for her. Sophie Cunningham brings a physical toughness that changes how opponents have to play the game. So this roster has real depth, real chemistry, and a clear identity that goes beyond one player carrying everyone else.
It's a different type of buzz, and obviously when LeBron comes to town, it's probably really different. But, Knicks fans are crazy, and I love it. I love people that are passionate about basketball, so it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, you kind of know them inside and out a little bit, Reggie. You've stolen their souls and their hearts with the Knicks fans.
You see how he's market.
But listen, there's a new shooter from Indiana. See, I'm the third best shooter in the state of Indiana now. Okay. It goes Caitlin, Tyrese, and now myself.
We'll have to get Tyrese's opinion on that. I'm not sure.
Here's where it gets interesting, though. The knock on the Fever for a while was that Clark carried too much of the load, and when she wasn't at her best, the whole thing slowed down. And that was a fair criticism, but the pieces around her kept developing, and chemistry compounds over time. The team Clark described, where they pull for each other, celebrate each other, stay connected through the hard stretches, that's the kind of thing that shows up in fourth quarters and playoff games. And Clark herself is only getting better. She came into the league as the best passer in women's basketball, and she keeps adding layers. The shot making, the scoring, the ability to read a defense and punish it in 3 different ways. She's not done growing. That's a genuinely terrifying thought for every other team in the league.
Appreciate you just joining us on Basketball Night in America.
It was fun. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you
now
guys
I
come
get
back.
to enjoy this. I mean, what's better, MSG Sunday night?
You can put your slippers
LeBron
back on
James,
if you
let's
want.
go.
Let's go.
Play too.
And guess what? Hey,
I get
Kayla's gonna come
destroyed,
back.
Mello.
She's not gonna put the mic down forever. March 29th, she's back with us in OKC, but now she gets to go and enjoy the Knicks games, and we're happy for her.
Meanwhile, Fever home games are still the hottest ticket in the WNBA. The building is loud, the fans show up ready, and Clark keeps giving them moments that end up on highlight reels and morning shows the next day. That's appointment television. That's exactly what the league packaged and sold to networks for that $2.2 billion deal. Over in Chicago, it's a completely different story. Roster instability, internal tensions, a star whose brand keeps moving faster than her production, and attendance going the wrong direction. Angel Reese publicly criticized her own teammates and pushed for roster changes, and the result was a locker room that sources described as divided and toxic. So Clark didn't campaign for the spotlight. She just kept producing until the spotlight had no choice. A $2.2 billion media deal doesn't happen because someone made noise. It happens because the numbers are real and the networks can see them. Lisa Leslie has watched every era of this league. She's seen what real impact looks like, and she looked at Clark and said, yes, this is exactly what it's supposed to look like. Then she sat down on Reese's own podcast and told her the layups are broken. That's the whole story right there. Production versus persona. One moves the needle, the other just makes noise. Who do you think is moving the needle, Clark or Reese? Let me know down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.